born and raised in Wellington, and hopping over to London when he was 20 years old. Made his way to work at restaurant Gordon Ramsay and was mentored by Chef Clare Smyth. After experiencing other 3 Michelin-starred restaurants in America and Sweden, he is now bringing his expertise and Chef Clare's legacy to Sydney. Stay tuned for the untold story of Chef Alan Stuart.
Okay.
Oh yeah, here we go.
Here we go. Check 1, 2. Cool.
Let's do it.
So first of all, welcome to the interview by AN.Told. Tell me about yourself.
So I'm Alan Stuart. I'm the head chef at Oncore by Clare Smyth in Sydney, Australia. A little bit about myself. I was born in New Zealand in a place called Pari-ā-Rua, just outside the capital, Wellington. Growing up, I knew I wanted to be a chef from the age 14. Started washing dishes in a little cafe right next to my house in a place called Oncore, which is in the Bay of Islands. Since then, I've always wanted to be in hospitality.
Okay, what makes you into cooking actually?
What got me into cooking was my mum, for sure, home-cooked meals at home with her. There was also a time at primary school where we did something called an enterprise project when I was 8 years old, and basically we had to come up with a business idea and we had to implement that business idea at a school fair. Parents would come in, they'd have funny money, and they'd buy your product. And so my product was fudges that we made with mum. So we made these fudges, we wrapped them up, and we presented them at the school fair. And since then I've wanted to be a chef.
Nice. So you did achieve 3 hats on your first year, and then you just retained it on the second year. How do you feel about that?
I think obtaining 3 hats was something very special, something we aimed to do the moment we came out here. We wanted to really bring Clare's standard and Clare's ethos to Australia, and I think at the end of the day, what we do day in, day out, we try to implement a really high standard, amazing food, great produce, source them from amazing suppliers, and just by giving an excellent dining experience to our guests, those sort of accolades will follow. We don't chase those accolades. At the end of the day, what we want to do is make sure that the guest has the best dining experience possible. And by doing so, hopefully those accolades will follow.
Who inspired you in cooking actually?
Inspired me in cooking?
Yeah.
It's a good one. Definitely Gordon Ramsay when I was first coming up. I definitely remember going on YouTube and watching Boiling's Point and shows like that, for sure. Even when I was 15, I was already looking at Gordon Ramsay's website. I was looking at all the restaurants he had at the time, and there were a lot of, I would say, legends that came from Gordon Ramsay's restaurants, be it Mark Sargent, Josh Emmett, Clare Smyth, Angela Harnett. There were just all these amazing chefs that were part of that group at that time. I was 15, and this was probably mid-2000s when Gordon was really starting to hit his strides. And so looking at these restaurants and seeing these people overseas, especially someone like Josh Emmett as well, who's a Kiwi, that really inspired me to get abroad and really go work in these restaurants. The first book I ever bought, I bought it after winning a book voucher in a burger competition. And the first book I went out and bought was the Gordon Ramsay 3-star book. So reading through that when I was 15 years old and just understanding how hard it was going to be, but there was just a sense of camaraderie and this drive to be amazing at your profession. That's what I wanted to do.
Okay. So Gordon was the person that you admire since you were 15. How do you feel when you work there? How do you feel when you work at his restaurant, at Restaurant Gordon Ramsay?
The first restaurant I worked at was at Maze by Gordon Ramsay down in Melbourne, part of the Gordon Ramsay group. And Josh Emmett was in charge at that time. And it was a good stepping stone into a fine dining kitchen. But I was only there for a year. I knew I wanted to be there for a year. I just was wanting to first experience what it was like to be in a Gordon Ramsay kitchen before heading overseas. Then the opportunity came in 2012 when I moved to London to work at Restaurant Gordon Ramsay, and at that time Clare was chef patron. She had been the head chef there since 2007, I believe it was, and it was an amazing time to be at Restaurant Gordon Ramsay at that time. We were continuing to maintain our 3 stars, but also Clare got the Good Food Guide's Chef of the Year. We got 10 out of 10 in the Good Food Guide.
Oh, wow.
So we were really hitting our stride at that time at Restaurant Gordon Ramsay under her. And we also had a really amazing team during my tenure there as well. With some really amazing people that have moved on, obviously, from now and starting to find their own feet as well in hospitality, and that's really cool to see.
Yeah. Is that the first time you met Chef Clare Smyth?
Yeah, that was the first time. So working at Restaurant Gordon Ramsay was my first time working for Clare, and that was back in 2012. And I was just a little 20-year-old commie that had walked in the back door and wanted to achieve something.
Wow. What's the journey, what's the story behind Oncore by Clare Smyth? You becoming the head chef for Chef Clare Smyth?
How did I end up here?
Yeah.
So coming out to Australia, originally I had been in Sweden at the time. I had moved on from Restaurant Gordon Ramsay. Clare had opened Core in London, and I was working in Sweden at a restaurant called Franson, 3-Michelin star restaurant over there. And it got to a point where Clare was looking to open a restaurant over here, and I was currently still working at Franson. And I had promised the team at Franson I would do 2 years. I said I would do my 2 years, and at that time that was that middle period, that 1 year. And I said to Clare, I'd really love to come to Australia, but I still need to complete my 2 years. I'm a man of my word. I want to see out that verbal agreement that I made to them. So I completed my 2 years at Franson, and during that second year at Franson, COVID obviously started, which was an interesting time for sure. But I was fortunately able to move back to London during COVID, spent some time at Core for about 3 months, and then I came out here during COVID to open Core. So I came out by myself. I'd never been to Sydney before. I'd never seen Oncore. I didn't know what this building looked like. We didn't have a team. It was literally, at that point, it was just me that had been appointed to the head chef. We eventually had Michael Stuart come on board as our restaurant manager, and we set about opening this restaurant. We needed 35 chefs. We needed 25 front of house. It was during the middle of COVID. There was nobody coming in. There was nobody going out. We had to find this team and create this restaurant. And as it was marketed to be, it was the hottest opening that year in Australia, while the borders were closed, and nobody was coming over to help us out. Yeah. So it was an interesting time to take a vision that no one's seen before, to take a restaurant that no one apart from myself has seen before, and implement that, and be able to have everybody, 65 staff, be able to see that vision in their own minds, the way I saw it, and be able to implement it to that standard. Something special, to be able to get 65 people to follow you into battle, to be able to open this restaurant with so much anticipation. I mean, it was really something to be proud of for the team. Hats off to them for just believing in me, in us, in Clare, and what the vision was for this restaurant.
That's good. That was pretty challenging. That was a very interesting story about the COVID-19, and you have to open, and then now you have maintained 3 hats until 2024. What's the difficult moments to get into 3 hats in the first year?
I mean, the most difficult thing was definitely was COVID itself. Was definitely challenging. Okay. I mean, we were having times where people were off sick all the time. We really just had to dig deep. Like, as a team, we had to believe in the vision and what we wanted to obtain. If the chefs had to carry trays, we carried trays. If we needed to polish cutlery, we'd polish cutlery. If the front of house needed to help us in the kitchen, they would help us. It was this mentality during COVID, and when we opened this restaurant, it was one team, one dream. And I've always been very vocal about the fact that there's no front of house, there's no back of house, there is the house. And that is how it works. And if they struggle, we struggle. If we struggle in the kitchen, they struggle on the floor. We have to be in unison and synergy. We have to work as one to create something special. If we're working against each other, we're only working against the guests. And at the end of the day, if we believe in the same thing, it's about maintaining the best dining experience we can for our guests.
Okay. How important the role of the teams at Oncore?
I mean, I can't do my job without our team. I mean, I might be the leader, but at the end of the day, it's the guys that are on the pans, that are on the stove, that are putting the cutlery down, that are polishing the cutlery at the back, the people that are carrying the trays, cooking the meats. They make this restaurant. I might lead them, I might show them, I'll train them, we'll teach them, but at the end of the day, that day in, day out, that operation is them. It's not me, it's them. Yeah. They the pillars to this home, to our house. They are the ones that make this restaurant. They're the ones that create the memories. They're the ones that make spectacular food. They are what is a restaurant? Essentially, our home.
Yeah.
And it's really fulfilling to be able to see so many people come into this restaurant and really grow and be able to express themselves. We've had, even in the front of house. The front of house for me is one of the most beautiful stories of this restaurant, because we've been able to take someone like Michael and be able to, his expertise, his ability to look after guests has really been highlighted. He runs Service Person of the Year the first year we were open. Last year, Max won Sommelier of the Year. So to be able to, those accolades just really highlight how special our team is. And that's not just them. When we talk about the team, he has a team, Michael has a team. He has to implement his standard and his understanding of hospitality to those people. And they have to be able to go out onto the floor, to the tables, and be able to show that level of hospitality to those guests. And the same thing for Max, his wine service, his personality, his style of looking after guests have to be implemented by his team as well. So I think that's just, at the end of the day, it's a team. And you can't do it without the team.
Yeah. Okay. What is leadership for you?
Leadership for me, I've always believed in the old saying, pull from the front, don't push from behind. I am really a true believer that if I can't do it, if I'm not willing to do it, I don't believe anybody else should. I'll happily scrub the floor, I'll happily wash the pans. If we're going down on the pot wash, I'll get in there, I'll help them out. If you guys need me to carry a chair to the table because we've had an extra guest turn up or something like that, I think leadership is to be at the forefront of decision making, but also be there when times are tough, and you had to put your hand up, and you'll get things wrong. I mean, you have to get things wrong to be able to learn. As a leader, it's probably the hardest thing to do, because you get things wrong in front of people, you get things wrong in front of your team, but as long as you put your hand up and you say, hey, I take the blame, or this is a learning experience for me as well, then there's opportunity to grow. I mean, that's a leader for me is just someone that's at the forefront that makes decisions, but also trusts in their team.
Nice. What about, can you describe what legacy is for you?
Okay, so legacy for me is when I talk about legacy and when I think about a legacy and what my legacy for this restaurant will be, it's not about the hats, it's not about the reviews, it's not about accolades or anything like that. For me, legacy is the team and the people that come after me. Legacy is what I install into those individuals to give them opportunity to grow, to inspire those people. If you look at someone like Gordon Ramsay is a prime example of a legacy that's been passed down to Clare, and what Clare's gone on to achieve after leaving Restaurant Gordon Ramsay. That is what his legacy is at the end of the day. It's not the legacy of the 3 Michelin stars that he obtained when he first ran his restaurant. His legacy is what he passes on to the next generation. And that for me is the way I look at legacy. Legacy to me is not what I do, it's not what I achieve. Legacy to me is what my team achieves, and the people around me, and what I inspire them to move on to do, and what I inspire them to do for hospitality at the end of the day. I want them to go on and achieve big things. I want them to see what we created, how hard we worked to achieve that, what it takes to achieve your dreams, your goals, but also to go on and get that. If you want it, go get it. And that's for me. When I look at people, when they move on from here, when they go into another restaurant in 5 to 6 years' time, I want to be able to go into their restaurant and go, you know what, that guy came from our restaurant. What an amazing restaurant he's created. And that for me, that will be my legacy. Because at the end of the day, one day I won't be in this restaurant. I might have retained those hats, I might have created an amazing restaurant for international guests abroad, but at the end of the day, my legacy will be retained by what my team does in the years to come. That for me is legacy. Right. Not what I do, but what my team does.
I love that. Nice. If you can give one advice to young generation, what would it be?
My advice as a chef is just put your head down and just work hard. Absorb everything around you, take opportunities, don't be afraid to fail. When you do fail, get back up. Fall down 7 times, stand up 8. one of my favourite sayings ever, because I can tell you now, I've fallen down many a times before, and I've learned, just get back up. Keep going. You get knocked down, you get back up. You keep going. Put your head down and you work really hard. If you work hard, if you're ambitious, if you're hungry, if you're driven, eventually you're going to get there. Life's a ladder, you've got to keep climbing it. You know, at the end of the day, don't get off that ladder, just keep climbing, because eventually you're going to reach your goals.
Yeah, just keep climbing. Nice. What do you know now that you wish you known earlier?
What do I know now that I wish I knew earlier? Well, that is a very good question. I think what I've learned over the years, what I know now that I did not know earlier is don't take everything to heart, definitely. I think I've learned to understand that more as I've grown through the years. Not everybody is right. Everyone has an opinion, but that doesn't mean their opinion is right. But I think what I've learned is to have a small circle, surround yourself with people that want to see you achieve, that want to see you achieve your goals, and listen to those people. Listen to what they say. Look at what they've done, listen to them, learn from them, and go forward from there. I think that's, just surround yourself with the right people, and they'll help you get where you want to go.
Okay. What gives you the drive or ambition for your successes?
What gives me the drive and ambition for our success is the team. I think by being able to create something special and something memorable for our guests, that also inspires our team to turn up every day and be driven and successful. Yeah, I get up every day because of the people around me at the end of the day. They inspire me to see their growth, to see their passion and their drive, and to see some people around me that are just as committed as I am is really inspiring. I think that's what gets me up in the morning. I mean, just to lead such an amazing group of people, to work with such amazing suppliers, the team is what makes this place special, and that's what drives me at the end of the day. And I'm super proud of what they have achieved and what they've got, what they do now, and what we're going to do in the future. I mean, we're always hungry, we're always driven, we want to do more. We want to create a better restaurant and a better dining experience for our guests. And as long as we continue to try our best, I'm sure we're going to achieve that.
How would you like your career to be remembered when you look back on it?
How would I like my career to be remembered when I look back on it? I hope I've inspired people. I mean, who knows when it's going to be all said and done? Who knows when my career will finally come to a close? Life's a funny thing, and you don't know what's around the corner. I've fortunately had to see that for a few friends that aren't even here now, but those people inspired me. I think for my career, I think I want to have an impact on three different aspects of my career. I think there's three aspects to hospitality and what I've done throughout my career that really matters to me. I think it's my team, my guests, and the family. I think for my team, I really want them to be inspired when they come to work alongside me. I think I want to be remembered for that, for inspiring people to be the best of themselves. I want them to understand that you can fail, but it's not a failure, it's a lesson to learn, and there's an opportunity to grow. Not every day is going to be perfect. I think that's one thing that I love about restaurants and hospitality is it can be hard, it can be tiring, it can beat you up, it can bash you down. It's not always easy, but I think what I love about a kitchen is that you'll have a hard service, and at the end of the day, no matter what, the kitchen will always be there for you. I think that's something that I've always found throughout hospitality when working in a restaurant, is that no matter what happens, there's always another day and there's always another opportunity to grow. And no matter how bad you do in that service or anything like that, there's always an opportunity to come back tomorrow and go again. I think that's what's great about restaurants and what's what I love about hospitality and working in a restaurant is the kitchen will always be there for you. And it's always been my safe space. You know, it's always been that place that I feel the most comfortable out there in the big wide world. It's not always easy. And so when you come into the restaurant, you're surrounded by what I see as my family, you know, and you feel at home when you come back into the kitchen. There's a sense of comfort. It might be stressful, but you know, it's that you know that the kitchen will always be there for you. No matter what's happening in your life, your personal life, no matter how bad things are in the world, when you come into the kitchen, we're all together, and we have that drive and that want to succeed. And that's what I love about being in hospitality and being in a restaurant, is you can always rely on the kitchen. It's always going to be there for you. So I think that's really important for me and for the team and for people to remember. I think for when it comes to the guests, you know, I think what I want to be remembered for in hospitality for the guests is creating moments, creating a moment that, you know, as we just talked about out in the big wide world. I think I remember it during COVID when I was at France, and it was like with the guests coming in is that no matter what's going on out in the big wide world, you know, all the troubles that's going on, a bad day at work, the stress of life, that when you come into the restaurant, when you come here for 3 hours, you get this relaxation. Don't worry about what else is going on in the world. We're here to look after you. We're here to bring this special moment to your evening, to your lunch, and create a lasting memory based around food, hospitality, wine, and just enjoyment. I think that's what we want to bring to our guests. So I think that's something that I hope guests feel when they come into this restaurant, is they feel that warmth, they feel that love, and that understanding of food through Clare's cuisine. And I think, you know, the last thing that I want to be remembered for is for my family. Is like, I think you often, when you're chasing something, this dream, you often have to make sacrifices. You don't always get to be there for your family. You're there for a different family, I guess. You know, you make these career choices throughout your life when you're young to go and chase this dream. You're not there at home, but you create this new family in a restaurant. So I hope that, you know, the family that in a way I've had to leave behind in New Zealand feels proud of what I've gone on to achieve. Especially for my mum who doesn't get to see me all the time, but you know I hope she understands that those long hours, that drive to go overseas to see what the world has to offer. I hope, you know, she gets to understand that she raised the boy that went on to chase his dream. That's what I hope my family sees. But it's also that family that you create within a restaurant. I think that's what's really important as well. I think you don't lose one family, but, you know, yeah, I guess you lose one family, but you gain another when you come into a restaurant. I think that's and I hope that family that I've made really understands the love and care that I have for them, even if I show it in a strange way at times. You know, I really care about what they go on to achieve. When I talk about family, I think, like, often in hospitality, you make a lot of sacrifices. You have to let go of things to really progress your career. And this comes for many professions. If you want to be world class, if you want to be work at the highest level possible, you have to make sacrifices. And unfortunately, often with what we do, that sacrifices our family. We miss birthdays, we miss funerals, we miss weddings, we miss Mother's Days, we miss all these opportunities to spend time with our family. But that time with our family as we know it is created by the family that we find in a restaurant. And I think you get those moments within your family that you find in the restaurants. And they're there to support you, and they're there to grow with you. So I hope that family that I've made throughout is really proud of what I've gone on to achieve.
Cool. That's a nice one. That's a good one. What's your biggest failure on your career and that makes you stronger?
What's the biggest failure in my career that has made me stronger? I think, you know, it's not something I talk about very often, but definitely one of my biggest failures was when I first moved to London. I was 20 years old when I first moved to London. Went to go work at restaurant Gordon Ramsay. And I was just very, very young and just hadn't had that time. I think time is very crucial in a restaurant to understand what's going on and just to mature within that restaurant as well. And unfortunately, when I worked at restaurant Gordon Ramsay, I ended up leaving after about a year and a half. I just wasn't mature enough at the time. I wasn't ready. I found myself on the meat section, learning to cook at the highest level possible. Like the highest level possible. Everything a la minute, everything to order. You know, you're doing 2 tasting menus, an a la carte, there's a lunch menu. It's 5 days a week. It's double service back to back to back to back. It's this high intense environment. And at that time I was 20 years old, 21 years old, and I couldn't handle the pressure at that time. And I walked out. And it's the thing I always look back on my career and regret. But it's also that moment in my career where I went back to New Zealand and it was a defining moment for me, telling me what I wanted to go on to achieve. I came back, I didn't enjoy it back home. I didn't enjoy the restaurant I was in when I came back to New Zealand. It was like, and I wanted to go back and achieve what I hadn't achieved. Someone called Stephen Ellis, one of the sous chefs at restaurant Gordon Ramsay at the time, he called me up and he said, "Hey, when are you getting your ass back here? When are you going to come back? And when are you going to do what you need to do?" And that was that person that really kicked me into gear. Matt Abbey was there as well, and he was. I'm so lucky for how welcoming and how generous he was to be able to take me back into that team after that I'd walked out. I'll never forget that. I think I owe a lot to Steve and Matt for that. I think I owe a lot to Matt and Steve for the way they brought me back into the team, and they helped me to grow again. You know, and I went back into that restaurant and I worked on the meat section for over a year. I was on the meat section 3 times. And what I failed to achieve when I was 21, I went on to achieve later on. I think that's that thing again when I talk about where no matter what, keep coming back. If you fail, go again. Don't stop until you achieve what you want to achieve. You set yourself a goal, you're going to make mistakes. It's not always going to be perfect, but you have to go back and you have to, if you have a dream, if you have a purpose, if you have something in your mind that you want to achieve, no matter what happens, make it happen. So I think that was really, it was a defining moment in my career where I failed, and I failed miserably, and it sucked. It really sucked. I wish it hadn't happened, but also it's that thing of like, it's that crowning moment, and it's something I'm able to see with my team as well, and it makes me a better.
Cool. That's a nice one. That's a good one.
That's it. Thank you. That's the untold story of Alan Stuart.